Okay, you all good? Let's do it. Hello and welcome to the B2C Lead Generation Podcast. Welcome back to the B2C Lead Gen Podcast. My name is Daniel Hopewell, here with Simon Delaney, and this is episode 55, The Power of the Brand. If you've listened to this show before, or if you pay attention to Simon's many LinkedIn posts on the subject, you'll know we've talked a lot about the power of the brand in lead generation before. Today we're going to explore the subject a little bit more depth and give it our full attention as we dive in. Simon, like I say, we've discussed this before, but let's go back and sort of go through it again. Why is the brand so important in lead gen?
Well, the brand is the number one multiplier of performance. And by that, I mean that your advertising ROI is impacted by the brand, its market share, its size, its reach, more than absolutely anything else. So because of that, the brand, you could say, is the absolute number one thing that matters within lead gen.
And you were talking before about this in relation to kind of just ad spend in general, right?
Well, yeah, the thing is that lead generation outside of intent channels runs ads, right? Like, how else do you get people to landing pages, do anything else? So let's say it's all form-based landing pages or websites online. You've got PPC, which is obviously intent-based. So if I just search, I don't know, life insurance, for example, it's obvious I'm pretty keen. So brand's still important then, but you're using the user's intent to actually like push them into a certain funnel. But absolutely everything else, Facebook, all affiliate-based stuff, all native stuff is all just interruptions in the middle of what people are doing. And that all carries ads. And so if you imagine those ads are what actually are the thing that's driving the brand that people see. Yes, it has like, you know, their problem or a thing they're looking for, but that life insurance ad, if we stick on that vertical, that's what interrupts their flow. It gets them thinking, oh, I need life insurance, or whatever it is that makes them think it, and then they enter the ad. But if you're a brand or you're growing a brand, you need to have your brand on that ad, because only 10% of people are going to click the ad in the first place, if you're lucky. And then when you go on the landing page, you want a brand on it again, because probably only 10% of people are going to fill that thing in. So you've lost a massive amount of traffic just from generating a lead. So if you don't have your brand on that, you're only speaking to a minute amount of people that are actually coming in as leads. And that's, you know, why it's so important.
I get the theory behind this. I know the results from things, you know, we've looked at before. We've seen how this is massively, like say, 10 times multiplier on it. What I'm going to try and do is, from the perspective of any brands listening or people working at brands, how do you practically incorporate your brand into lead gen, though, is, I guess, the question.
If you are a big brand already, it's fairly simple, because you just need to make sure your brand is being used in all the assets that are generating the leads. So this is on the ads, on the landing pages, and all the lead nurturing that you do, which is a different subject entirely. But it's fairly simple. You might already have a known brand, and all that happens is you are then pushing the brand further, your reach is going even further, your advertising ROI is even coming down. So it's positive in sort of every single aspect. It's like the opposite of a vicious circle, like a nice circle, because all it does is it just impacts everything positively. But if you're either trying to grow a brand or creating a brand, which is a sort of position that a lot of lead generators might be in, or smaller companies, I guess, that are buying leads and selling to them as well. Growing a brand is really difficult, especially if you're in a sort of saturated market. So if we stick on like life insurance, for example, so the only way to counter that is you either create a brand in a niche within an oversaturated market. So if you say is life insurance, you go for like a really specific part of life insurance. So you look at like the key factors of, I don't know, when people take out life insurance, is when they have kids, when they move house, when they buy a home. They're generally like key triggers. So when you start thinking about that, you could think, well, we could do life insurance for first-time mothers, or we could do life insurance for people that are moving into a semi-detached home. It'd be like a really specific niche that would resonate with the people in that market. And then all you need to do is have access, or sorry, understand what the TAM is, which is the total addressable market of all the people you could go after that match that niche. And ideally, it's funnily, what smaller you go, the better. And then when you build out your niche, you can then start growing your sort of other niches out and making the brand more generic. But if you are a big brand, sorry, there's one other thing, or if you want to grow a brand, go after an underserved market. So this could be something that almost doesn't exist at the moment, which is great. So it could be, I don't know, window cleaners. Imagine leads for window cleaners. I've never seen anyone do that. I'm sure. Yeah, I don't know if there's a market for it, but there's a lot of houses, a lot of people that want their windows cleaned. And it tends to be, I've literally just thought this off the top of my head. So it could be absolutely ridiculous, or someone might take it. But, every single person I know either wants a window cleaner or has a window cleaner. So there's obviously, but how do you get them? It's usually like word of mouth. You might have to look in some, you look online or whatever. So I'd imagine it might work quite well in lead gen if there's an ROI.
Have someone just knock on my door and say, "Can I do them?" I was like, "Yeah, I think it's turn up." But
yeah, well, imagine all you'd do is, just going off on a massive tangent, is if you started contacting all the window cleaning companies in like specific cities. So let's say you went, I don't know, like London, Manchester, Birmingham, Sheffield, Leeds, and you had 2 sales guys, got something like Yellow Pages or online, and went, right, I want you to call every single window cleaning company or individual and see if they'd be interested in buying the leads of people who want their windows cleaned. And you just create a form, get 2 sales guys calling them, have the leads coming in, and create a ping tree that just distributes them possibly on a radius of where they actually serve. And that would be, I can't imagine someone goes and does this. I don't know if there's enough ROI, and I don't know how much window cleans are. It's like 20 quid, but what you could do is sign them up on like a 3-month or 6-month thing, and it'd cover it. But it's a massively underserved market potentially. So if you're going to grow a brand and you suddenly become known as the brand that can get window cleaners like that in big cities, I mean, that is like a perfect thing. Or if you're a big brand, you've already got like the significant reach. We've mentioned this already, right? So you just keep running the ads. You just need to make sure that your ads are showing, and you're collecting the leads, and the individuals that see everything become associated to your brand.
One thing I do want to ask is, we talked about brands going to lead generator saying, put our logos on this, and as we said, it's because the results are 10 times more, whatever. Is there any reason why the lead generator wouldn't be like desperate for that to happen? Like, it's just going to reach results.
Well, if you're a lead generator, you'd be trying to achieve the same thing, right? Like, so this is really aimed at sort of anyone who's trying to grow a brand, because I mean, there's something we've been talking about for years, like before we started the podcast. So this must be 2 years ago in Datable. We had this concept of like lead generators need to become brands, and brands need to become lead generators. So if you're a lead generator and you're growing a brand, so like the example we just talked about with the window cleaning thing, you want your brand to be the thing associated with it. That's not to say that you wouldn't then list or work with the brand that's using you. So on most landing pages, if we've gone through on a previous podcast, I think, with Oliver Kenyon before, and we encourage people to incorporate it. You typically have like trusted brands or as seen on your landing pages anyway. So what will happen is the lead generators that are working with well-known brands, because that's again what they're doing, is just utilizing the power of well-known brands because they know it increases conversion rates. So yeah, in that from that perspective, you would use the power of the brand associated with it. But it might be not just one, they might have several, but it's really good if you can put like in conjunction with. But ultimately, the brand, if you sort of going to do it seriously and want a massive impact, you use the brand.
Okay. I guess I think when we started this, I expected to sort of talk more to the brands and the lead buyers and that side of it. But I think actually this is kind of, you can look at this from both sides, like both the brand and the lead generator, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the thing is, anyone involved in lead generation knows this, right? Which is, there's a whole world of programmatic exchanges and banner networks and places that can grow your brand. But effectively, and we went through this with Dr. Augustine Food, most of the traffic is just bullshit. Like, you're not growing anything. You're like, you might, I don't know, 15% of the traffic might be real, potentially less. If you're working like with massive exchanges, not with publisher direct or on smaller exchanges. So when you're working in lead generation, because effectively you're at the coalface and everything ultimately typically works back to a sale, although not always, you have to produce results. And that means that where your traffic is come from has to be almost 100% real, because otherwise, you're just chucking money away. I'm sure some of it isn't, but it's really difficult to quantify. But what that means is, let's imagine that 80% of the money spent on programmatic exchanges is just spunked away, right? Like, you can spend shitloads less on lead generation and achieve far more brand awareness. Like, the opportunity is just huge for brand awareness, for doing the exact same thing that all these other like advertising channels claim to be doing, but aren't. And lead generation, everyone focuses on the lead, and that's right. And not everyone focuses on the sale, but they should be focusing on the sale. They'll focus on the lead a lot. But what everyone misses is the massive opportunity for real traffic, seeing real ads, creating real brand awareness, and growing a brand. And this is why, if you're a lead generator as well, there's no point in knocking together like winky wanky landing pages and creating ads that are just like real clickbaity stuff. Because if you're going to be really serious about it and do it properly, and you want your advertising ROI to come down, creating a brand is the number one way to do it. That's the way to think about it.
I think that's actually kind of brings us sort of full circle in a way. That's a very interesting point. I think when we came into this, I was approaching it from the perspective of how the brand can help lead generation. But actually, it works the other way. Lead generation can be used to help brand awareness in the brand.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with the lead generator, so if you're a brand like already and you're a well-known brand, it's perfect. It's this nice circle rather than a vicious circle. You're just creating and benefiting from your brand name even more, and your advertising ROI is great. Your lead costs go down, your conversion rates go up. If you're a lead generator coming into it and you have the opportunity to grow a brand, i.e. companies are just buying the leads that you create and they aren't asking you to do it on the back of their brand, there is nothing better that I know of online, with a caveat that I need to think about that a bit more, but that will help you grow a brand with that like amount of brand awareness that you get.
Yeah, I think I remember the guest was one of the guys from MVF was talking about this micro branding thing as well, like just loads of little impressions that almost like brushstrokes that add up to the whole. I thought that was a nice way of thinking about it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and someone like MVF, they've got all their own brands. I mean, they must have realised this a while ago. That they've got a huge opportunity to grow a brand here. And effectively, that's all the comparison sites have done as well. But what they've then done is move away from it being leads and do it as a sale. But you could arguably say that a lot of the comparison sites are more well known than the brands that they serve.
Yeah.
Which is like an amazing thing, right? And that is, it's literally like the power of the brand that they've grown.
Well, as we were talking about the life insurance stuff as well, it's like those Dead Happy, what's the other one? Tom or Frank, or I forget the name.
Yeah,
Tom. It's Tom. What's the shoes? There's a couple, isn't there? I can't remember the names. But
they've changed the form actually from last time I saw it. But yeah, so if you remember, I did a talk at Lead Gen World London last year, and we spoke about these brands and the way to think of, and that was to do with thinking of niches if you're going to be growing a lead gen brand. And they're like the perfect thing. So Tom went after, hipster dads over a certain age, knowing that it was like, they could be sort of buying houses, they're at that age of having kids, all these sort of trigger points, and just really honing in on a niche that was probably like no one had thought of before. And that's really how you grow a brand. Because if you're just building like generic life insurance pages, they're not going to resonate with anyone. They're not, be quite good on PPC because you're just going after intent-based stuff maybe. But anything else, there's no real opportunity to grow a brand because it's not an underserved market, because there's like billions of life insurance lead generators and companies. And you're not creating a niche. That's really the key if you're, you want to create a brand.
I think it's exciting too. Do you know, like?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'd love to sit there all day. If we were in, I said this years ago when I don't know if he listens to this. Paul Kemshill, who runs Marketing Punch now, came to the office here, and me and him were chatting. And he said, "What would you be doing if you weren't running a software company?" I said, "I'd be sitting in this room, having ideas about lead generation companies I could create." That was literally what I said. And then it was like, I created niches, a bit like the window cleaner thing. Every week I speak to someone, a lead generator virtually, and have this same conversation. And I literally get so excited. It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? I get so excited talking about ideas for niches or underserved markets. That's why I can come up with the ideas really quickly, because I literally do it constantly.
I wonder, like, if I'm listening to some lead generator, I mean, I'm from quite a creative background anyway. This is the kind of thing that I do. But I wonder how people listen to it think. Like, do they only care about whatever, like you say, building these crap landing pages that just get the results, or do they actually care about building something a bit more substantial, being creative, building a brand, and making things look nice and that kind of stuff? Like that to me is the thing that I would find exciting if I'm listening to this. I'd be like, opportunity here is like to do something creative and something I'm proud of.
Yeah, exactly. Or working with a brand to do something for them, right? So it sort of works in two ways. So you're either generating leads for the brand on behalf of their brand, and you can explore like ways to improve conversions, way to improve sales, way to improve like the ads potentially, and do it all within their brand guidelines. But it's like, this is sort of like agency work that people were used to get really excited about. Or like you said, creating a brand and just thinking of these niches and thinking of underserved markets and thinking of how to approach it. And then it, the whole thing then plays into like CRO as well, and ways of like engaging people and thinking of the psychology of the movement of people through landing pages and the ads they respond to and what happens after that. I think it's like one of the most exciting things to be involved in.
But let's say it can go both ways though. Like if I was given the task of coming up with a landing page, and what I want for like life insurance, what I want is stock image of some middle-aged man pointing and looking happy, sat on a sofa, where the hell it is, and 3 bullet points. They're trying to formulate things. I think it would get really boring. But like you say, you work like someone like Dead Happy or Tommy, like, right, do what you want here, come up with something, create something new. I think that's actually what makes it good.
It's really interesting actually, because I agree with you, right? So like, full disclosure, we have this thing of transparent folks, so we'll just talk about it. So as you know, we build landing pages in Datable for clients. We call it like marketing operations. We'll build the landing page and do everything else. And it can be really difficult to build brands on the back of that, because everyone's nervous about the spend. Because what you want is, I could knock you up a landing page, like a generic thing, for 300 quid. And we'll just copy, the formulaic things, so like if it's life insurance, or I don't know. Yeah, it's the same thing. Someone on the beach pointing to the distance, happy couple, former on the right, or multi-stage form. And they have a purpose and they work and things, but they're not going to stop people in their tracks. That's really what it's about, right?
But also, it's not a false economy, because although it's cheap in the short run, as we can see, is the good, strong brands will outperform it in the long run. So
this is the advertising ROI. This is the thing. This is why it then becomes a vicious circle. It's like it is so interesting, this stuff, because if I was a lead generator, I'd set up a company 2 months ago, and I'm going to start bidding on PPC, Facebook, native. I build a generic life insurance page, and I'm trying to keep costs down as low as possible. I've got 2 buyers for the leads. I'm really scared about how they're going to perform, everything else. I'm potentially not going to put as much money as I should or could or want to into building that landing page, because I don't know what's going to happen on the back of it. So there is this sort of fear, I guess, but I think if you can remove that and then start thinking of brand first, which is, how can I really resonate with an audience so that my leads or the people I engage with are going to think of me before anyone else? And that's really what Tom did, right? If you look at, like we were talking about with Tom, if you were a dad over 35 with a beard, married, and a barbecue, and that's so niche, right? But I can think of those things just by looking at the or anyone kind of looking at the landing page. You would think of no other life insurance company other than Tom.
Yeah, sure.
And that's really what it's about. And that, brands have a inbuilt natural advantage because of that. They don't need to worry about that anymore. So if you're the biggest life insurance brand, I don't know who that is.
Beaver or someone like that.
Yeah, it's been going for 50 years. They've already got massive market share. Everyone knows the brand. Anything they do just adds more positivity and makes people think of them. They're trusted, everything else. So there's no point in trying to compete against that. Create your own market.
I think that's where the excitement comes. I mean, I'm just looking at, I've got notes on the right hand side of my screen as we do this, so I make sure we go around certain areas. And I feel like we've gone completely off piece today. We should call this podcast the vicious circle or the nice circle or something. And then we talked about window cleaning leads and also, maybe some ideas. So if anyone wants to develop this niche, let us know.
I was literally talking to someone about it last week, and I can't remember. It was another weird little niche that we came up with, and I was trying to convince him to go and hire 2 salespeople to go and do it. I'm gonna have to ring him and see if he's done it.
We should do a challenge or something. Those things where you random generators, so you pick a vertical of window cleaners, but it's the niche is men over 40, and they're 3 different things. You have to come up with a brand using those 3 random sort of generator things and see develop it on the show. Maybe that could be an episode, quite fun, I think.
Yeah, I agree. But I think, so if you're a big brand, great, use the power of the brand to get your advertising ROI even better and get more conversions. It's brilliant. You already have a massive natural inbuilt advantage. Go for it. If you are a really small brand, just starting a brand or a lead generator, go niche in oversaturated markets, or find an underserved market that you think you can fill.
I'm going to call a line there, because I think that is a nice summary to end this on and take home. That was episode 55, The Power of the Brand. Thanks for listening to the B2C Lead Generation Podcast. Be sure to hit subscribe to hear more from those at the very cutting edge of the lead gen world.